There are some very good chances that you've seen this video that I animated quite a while ago featuring myself and a character from a book that I'm writing. Now, because of this video's popularity, I'm going to ramble about my book and the characters in it. The first character on the chopping block is Wren Taylor, the main character of my book. The story starts in Wren's bookshop, which is technically more of a library than it is a bookshop, but bookshop just sounds better, so I call it a bookshop. Screw you, I'll do what I want. The bookshop is a place that's been handed down to Wren from her grandfather, as after a series of unfortunate events, Wren is now the only living member left of her family that she knows of. But this is no ordinary bookshop. If you've ever seen the movie Inkheart, you probably know where this is going, but every book in the bookshop is magic. When a book is opened, it will open a gateway that will allow characters and creatures inside the book to escape into the real world. Creatures from the book are also able to escape if the book is poorly made, so if it wasn't bound properly, or the pages are made of a poor paper, or it's not bound with a decent leather or velvet. Basically, if the book is falling to pieces, it makes it easier for something inside the book to just push the cover open and get out if it wants to. Wren is a collector of these magical books to keep them safe from the real world, as if anybody else got their hands on them without knowing, it could release anything from any story ever written into the real world, and that can get very dangerous very quickly. Wren collects these books from either other collectors or from unsuspecting people that know about the collecting world. The collecting world is very secretive in what it does, as nobody really wants it to get out that there are these books that exist that are magical and can release characters, as who knows what can happen if that gets into the wrong hands. By collecting all these books into one place, it makes it safer for the world, and just in general. These books and the characters that can escape out of them are all called fairy tales. Nobody knows exactly why the pages are magic, but it's most likely due to the way they're written. The ink used to write the magical books is mixed with herbs and the blood of whoever is writing them. Magic in this universe functions in the same way that modern witchcraft does today, with lots of herbs and other materials, except with a lot more incorporation of blood. And in the case of Wren's bookshop, a lot of her magic is focused around a sort of potion-like ink used to write out spells. This is what I call blood magic. The bookshop is protected by runes that keep it away from the attention of outside people. The runes are figures carved into every windowsill and doorway in the bookshop, and every other day or so, I don't exactly remember when, I need to look it up again, Wren has to cut open her thumb and swipe her blood along the runes. Once that's all done, she takes her rune book and, using a special concoction of ink that includes her blood, Wren will write in the book a special phrase and the runes will activate. The runes keep any hostile entity from being able to enter the bookshop and also keep people from being interested in it. For example, if a pedestrian were to walk by and felt intrigued to look into the window, they would get closer and find themselves no longer interested in the bookshop even a little bit, and they'd just walk right past it. Anybody tempted to knock on the door would walk up to it and then suddenly forget what they were doing and turn around and walk away. Wren has to do this basically every other night in order to keep her bookshop hidden and protected. The bookshop is basically her life. She spent every single day in there, aside from when she has to go out and get groceries, or in the rare case she has to go out and collect a book herself. Wren's bookshop is in London, the only collection of fairy tales in London, as collections have to be separated by cities in order to prevent let's say an over-grouping of magic. If magic is grouped together in such a large amount, like multiple collections amount of magic, it can draw the attention of people that may want to take the books and use them for bad. So collections have to be very separated and limited in how many books that they can gather. It is worth noting Wren isn't on this journey alone, as she feels like she is. There is one other person that she has by her side to help her through managing the bookshop and collecting books, and that is my next main character, Finn. Finn is the second character in our main character trio. Finn and Wren have been friends ever since they were children, meeting each other when Wren was 8 and Finn was 10. Finn came into Wren's life shortly after her mother disappeared, being brought into the bookshop as an orphan by her father. When Finn was 18, he moved out of the bookshop, both in an attempt to live his own life away from the bookshop and to give Wren some space, as he felt like living around her all her life would smother her. Moving out, however, did lead Finn to meet a person and accidentally end up with a 4-year-old daughter. I should clarify, Finn doesn't regret having his daughter Bree at all, it was just the circumstances in which it happened. Finn had met a woman in an attempt to get over his feelings for Wren, and accidentally, without realizing, she had become pregnant. Finn stayed with this woman and tried to help her raise Bree, but over time, having a daughter started taking a toll on her, and she started some really bad habits. Finn realized that this wasn't a safe environment for a child. He would know what a safe environment for a child was, given how he grew up. So Finn took his daughter and left, and Bree's mother didn't try and stop them. Since then, the two have cut off contact, and Finn is happy living as a single father, occasionally with Bree's grandparents on her mother's side looking after her, whenever Finn would work at the shop. Though occasionally, actually most often, Finn does bring Bree into the shop to sit with him while he does some work with Wren. Wren usually doesn't like children, as she gets worried about them destroying stuff or just being gross little turds, but Bree is the one child that Wren formed an attachment to. Finn helps Wren in the bookshop as much as he can. Before he left, he was helping her every single day, organizing new collections and book exchanges, and helping her organize the books in the bookshop. But now that he's moved out, he's able to do less. But what he does like to do most often is help Wren with her grocery shopping and anything else that would require her to leave the bookshop, as he knows she doesn't really like the outside world. Finn is very protective of Wren, and for good reason, that you'll have to read the book to find out. Finn tries his best to keep Wren safe and is always there whenever she needs it. But sometimes he can get a little too close if he forgets what he's meant to be doing. So there's a lot of tension between them a lot of the time. However, Finn tries not to let it get in the way, as his main priority is to protect Wren and keep her safe, and to help her keep the bookshop running and out of sight from anyone outside that might want to get in. As I mentioned earlier, Finn had been living with Wren ever since she was 8 years old after her mum went missing, which also means Finn was there when Wren's father passed away when she was aged 10. When Wren was 10, let's just say life got a bit too much for her father, and he ended up leaving, in a way. After that point, it was Wren's grandpa that helped look after her, and whenever he was by, Finn as well. Wren's grandpa became the main parental figure in her life, and she grew really close to him. Wren would spend every day taking care of her grandfather and spending time with him, and she loved him a lot. Her grandfather was all she had left if she didn't consider Finn, which she didn't, really. She was close with Finn, but he wasn't family. Her grandfather was, as she believed. It wasn't until quite a few years later, when Wren was in her mid-early 20s, there was an accident. An accident that Wren believes was her fault. Finn has tried many times to convince Wren that it wasn't her fault and that there was nothing that could be done. But still, Wren blames herself, and it's a pressure that's constantly on her shoulders and at her back. Because of this accident, Her whole point of view on the bookshop and the books inside it changed. What began as childlike wonder and amazement at the magic within these books quickly turned into fear and a constant sense of dread that anything could go wrong if any book was opened and left unattended. Unfortunately, nothing stays perfect for long, and while Wren is putting away a new delivery of books, she stumbles across a book laying in the aisle of a bookshop, wide open. That is when we meet our third main character, Aaron Hook, aka Captain Hook. His story starts with Wren finding the mysterious book wide open on the floor of her bookshop, not quite sure how it got there and how in the hell the book got opened. Wren panics and not sure what else to do, she calls Finn, who comes not knowing that something's up and unknowingly bring Bree with him. Once they're there, they keep Bree distracted with some drawing and the two look through the bookshop trying to find whatever character could have escaped from this book. Upon their searching, they find something really dangerous is going on, as the runes in a window upstairs have been scratched out of the windowsill, leaving them vulnerable. But the most dreading part of this is that in order for the runes to be scratched out, something had to be already inside the shop. Wren and Finn head back downstairs, preparing to recast the runes and get the shop back under protection, and find none other than Captain Hook himself standing over Finn's 4-year-old daughter. After everyone has calmed down and Aaron explains his situation, Wren sympathizes with him, though she doesn't entirely trust him, fully aware of who he is and the role he plays in his fairy tale. Finn is much less trusting and fully prepared to hurt someone. After a while, Wren and Aaron negotiate, deciding that Wren will help find a way to get him back into the fairy tale. Finn typically does not like Aaron and doesn't trust him even a tiny bit, but goes along with the plan if it means getting him out of the bloody bookshop. This ends up with them taking literal Captain Hook on quite a few adventures. One such adventure where he gets lost in a sex shop, which is one of my favorite scenes that I've written about him so far. After a couple more chapters of banter and some very interesting tension between the three, we meet Robert, who's a character I can't go much into about his story, but he's very pivotal in helping the trio find a way to get Aaron back into his fairy tale. But the trio finds that Aaron wasn't the only thing that got out of that book. In this twisted version of Peter Pan, fairies aren't little humanoid creatures with wings that flutter around spreading pixie dust, but rather massive creatures with peeling faces and wolf-like bodies that feed off of flesh and fear. The trio end up finding a fairy that was hiding in the bookshop, and after some help from Aaron taking it down, they find a baby. Wren gets quite an attachment to this little baby fairy and decides to keep it when it shows it isn't dangerous at all. After that juicy piece of side plot, the trio finds the rest of the ingredients they need to send Aaron back into his fairy tale. But something isn't right. Right as Aaron is getting sucked back into the fairy tale, Wren and Finn find themselves being pulled in too. This leads us into part 2 of my book, taking place in none other than a twisted version of Neverland. And this is the first time since the accident with her grandfather that Wren has no idea what to do. Now, I'm fully aware that there are still some gaps in my story. I'm working it out, and this video was made kind of last minute. I'd been planning it for a while, but I don't do well reading scripts, so the recording was kind of just winged. So there were some details I missed. I really would have loved to go further in depth about the magic process and fairies, but unfortunately I had to kind of keep it all within the characters' speed paints to keep it relevant and to keep me on track. But I'm really happy that I chose to make a video about this and got to ramble about my book and my characters and just this whole world that I've spent so long building, and I really hope you guys liked it. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. During the end of the video, I'll put on display a couple animations and some other drawings that I've done for paper and ink, and maybe even some little sketches that I've done of the characters for you to see while the video ends. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I really hope you stay tuned into my journey as an author if this ever gets published, which I really hope it does. Thank you. I'll see you guys next stream if you guys catch my streams on next video or on Instagram or wherever you follow me, or if you don't follow me, I'll pop up on your For You page when you least expect it. If you guys really want to see this dream come to fruition one day and see me publish this book, I might need some help, so I've got plenty of different ways you can support me. I have a Patreon, or we're going to be seeing this on my YouTube, or Instagram, or TikTok, or anywhere really. You can commission me, and I could draw stuff for you, but I'm going to need some help to get this book published, so any way you can help, it'll really mean a lot, even if you just share this video with friends. And be sure to let me know if you guys would be interested in a part 2, or even if you guys would be interested in reading my book whenever it gets published. The more people I know would be happy to read my book equals just the bigger audience I have that can buy it when it's published, and it might make it a bit easier for me to actually find a publisher, because finding a publisher in a place like Australia without an agent is really hard. I've already been looking a couple times, it's not easy.